The 2026 Lexus TZ 550e is the biggest, most ambitious electric car Lexus has ever put its badge on. A few weeks ago, almost nobody knew it existed. No leaks, no long teaser campaign. Lexus simply pulled the covers off an all-new flagship, gave it a name most people have never said out loud, and parked it right at the top of the range, above the RZ. This one is bigger, longer, and it does something no electric Lexus has done before. It seats 6, so if you want to know whether Lexus just built the family car to beat, subscribe and stick around because we are going over all of it. This is the TZ. For a long time, the electric side of Lexus meant one car. The RZ, a mid-size SUV that played things very safe. The TZ is the opposite of safe. It stretches just over 200 inches from nose to tail, which is about as much road as a full-size 3-row family SUV. Underneath sits a platform Lexus shares with Toyota's largest electric models, so the TZ is closer to a big American hauler than to the compact crossovers most brands sell as luxury EVs. This is Lexus planting a flag. The brand has been cautious with electric cars, letting rivals rush out in front, and the TZ is its answer, a proper luxury flagship that happens to run on batteries. It broke cover at a private event in Japan, and it goes on sale in America and Canada by the end of the year. And here is the first thing worth holding on to. Lexus did not build this to chase the fastest sprint or the biggest range number. It built the TZ around the people sitting in the back. You will see exactly what that means in a minute, because the way this cabin is laid out tells you who Lexus is really chasing, and it is not the person behind the wheel. Start with how it looks, because in person, the TZ is striking in a way the photos undersell. From the side, it is all long, clean lines, a low roof that seems to float above blacked-out pillars, and a huge pane of glass running the length of the cabin. Flush door handles sit almost flush with the bodywork. The wheels fill their arches, big multi-spoke alloys that turn a heavy SUV into something that looks light on its feet. Lexus showed it in a deep olive green and a cool gray blue, and both make the shape feel expensive. At the front, Lexus has finally moved past the old spindle grille. In its place is what the brand calls a spindle body, where the whole nose becomes the shape, framed by thin, sharp headlights that stretch into the wings. Walk around to the back and there is a single light bar spanning the full width, with the name Lexus written across the tailgate in letters instead of a badge. Below it sits the model name, TZ550e. Lexus revealed the car on a slow turntable, and as it spins, you notice how much work has gone into the roofline. It tapers toward the tail like a coupe, yet there is still headroom for that third row underneath. Little details give the game away too. There is no shut line for a front boot, because the TZ does not have one, which is an odd miss on a car this size, and every surface has clearly been worked to cut drag. Lexus quotes a drag figure of 0.27, which is slippery for something this tall, and is the kind of number that quietly buys back range on the motorway. At night, the light bar and the slim front lamps give it a calm, expensive signature, the sort of face that reads as luxury without shouting for attention. It is a handsome, confident shape. Whether it has the sheer road presence of a Volvo EX90 is something you will settle with your own eyes. But the TZ does not look like a car trying to hide its size. Now open the door, because this is where the TZ makes its real argument. Climb into the second row and you understand the whole car. Instead of a bench, Lexus has fitted 2 captain's chairs, split by an open channel, each one deep and soft and set slightly high, so you look out and over the road. Above your head, that full-length glass roof floods the cabin with light. At night, thin strips of ambient lighting trace the doors and the console in a soft glow. It feels less like the back of an SUV and more like the middle of a private lounge. That is the point. Lexus built the TZ around this seat, not the driver's seat. There is proper room to stretch out, recline a little, and let somebody else deal with the traffic. Because the floor is flat and the wheelbase is so long, nobody is fighting for footroom. Step through to the very back, and the third row is a genuine seat, not a token penalty box. Behind it there is still a usable boot for the weekly shop or a couple of large cases. Fold those rear seats flat, and the TZ will swallow the kind of load a growing family actually generates. Up front, the dashboard is calm and horizontal, anchored by a large central touchscreen. It runs the newest Lexus interface software, with wireless Apple and Android connection and the voice assistant built in. There are still a few real buttons for the things you use while moving, which, after years of every brand bearing the climate controls in a menu, honestly feels like a relief. Material quality is exactly what you would hope for at this level. Soft leather, real metal, tight panel gaps, and that particular Lexus obsession with silence. This should be one of the quietest cabins in the class, because Lexus has poured years into hushing wind and road noise, and an electric motor removes the last of the engine drone. Space is the headline. 3 rows, 6 seats, and a wheelbase of just over 10 feet mean even the third row is built for adults on a real journey, not just children on a short school run. If your family has outgrown a 5-seat crossover, this is the reason to look. So what is it like to drive? Now, I have not driven it yet. Nobody outside Lexus has, so let us be honest about what we do and do not know. On paper, the numbers are strong without being wild. Every TZ uses 2 electric motors, one on each axle, for the standard all-wheel drive that Lexus calls Direct 4. In this flagship, they combine for around 408 horsepower. Lexus quotes 0 to 62 miles an hour in about 5.5 seconds. That is quick enough to feel effortless and gentle enough to keep things smooth, which, for a luxury 3-row, is exactly the right side of the line. More interesting is what Lexus has done to make something this big feel manageable. There is rear-wheel steering that turns the back wheels by up to 4 degrees, tightening the car in a cramped car park and steadying it out on the open road. Direct 4 constantly shuffles power between the axles for grip, so even in the wet, the TZ should feel planted. And the whole thing has been tuned, in classic Lexus fashion, for calm rather than drama. The first people allowed near it keep reaching for the same word, composed. So do not expect a corner carver, expect the TZ to waft. If it drives the way Lexus says it should, refinement will be its weapon, not raw pace. And that brings us to the number that decides whether the TZ makes sense, the one I flagged right at the start: range. The big battery holds almost 96 kilowatt hours, and in the United States, Lexus is quoting an estimated 300 miles on a full charge. On the European test cycle, it is rated at up to 530 kilometers. That is good. It is not class-leading. A Hyundai IONIQ 9, for similar money, will go closer to 335 miles between charges. So if squeezing out maximum range is the one thing you truly care about, the TZ is not the winner on paper. In the real world though, 300 miles still covers almost any commute and most weekend runs without a second thought. So this is a shortfall on the spec sheet more than in your driveway. Charging tells a similar story, solid rather than spectacular. Lexus fits a North American charging port, so Tesla superchargers are on the table. On a fast enough charger, the TZ pulls up to around 150 kilowatts, going from 10 to 80% in roughly half an hour. Point the navigation at a charger, and it warms the battery on the way, so it is ready to take that fastest charge the moment you plug in. All of that is perfectly usable. It is also a clear step behind the 800-volt rivals that can do the same job in 20 minutes. There is a smaller, cheaper battery lower in the range for people who cover fewer miles. And one more practical note: the TZ can tow, but only up to 3,500 pounds, where a Kia EV9 will pull a full 5,000. For a big family SUV, that gap is worth knowing before you hitch up a trailer. So how much? This is where I have to be straight with you, because Lexus has not published final prices yet. But every early signal points to the TZ opening at around $60,000, with the loaded versions climbing well into the 70s. Take that as a strong estimate, not a promise. If it lands there, the math gets interesting. $60,000 undercuts a Volvo EX90 by roughly $18,000. That is a lot of money for a very similar 3-row electric SUV, wearing a badge people arguably respect just as much. It also lines up almost exactly with the Kia EV9 and the Hyundai IONIQ 9, which are cheaper to get into and, as we just covered, travel that bit further. So who is the TZ actually for? Not the driver chasing numbers. This is for the family that has outgrown a mid-size SUV, wants 3 real rows and a genuinely plush cabin, and does not want to spend Rivian or Lucid money to get there. That is the gap Lexus is aiming at, and it is a smart one. Almost nobody else offers this exact blend of 6-seat comfort, Lexus build quality, and a sticker that starts with a 6. The RZ was Lexus playing it safe in the middle of the market. The TZ is Lexus finally building something with real presence at the top of it. Go up from here and you are into Rivian, Lucid, and the big German names, all of which ask for noticeably more once you match the equipment. Come down, and you give up either the third row, the badge, or the sense of occasion. Step back, and the car becomes a statement about where the brand thinks luxury is heading. Not the loudest thing in the room, not the fastest, but the calmest and the most usable. The catch, and there is always a catch, is that it is brand new. There is no track record, no long run of reliability data, no owners yet to ask. For now, you would be buying the promise. So where does that leave the TZ? For me, it is one of the most quietly convincing new cars Lexus has shown in years, as long as you want it for the right reasons. The one to buy will not be this range-topping flagship. It will be whichever trim settles in the middle once prices land, because that is where the space, the comfort, and the value all meet without paying for the last drop of power. Skip it if your priority is maximum range or towing a heavy trailer, because the IONIQ 9 and the EV9 both do those two jobs better for the money. And before you sign anything, cross-shop that Kia EV9, which gives you 7 seats and a third row for thousands less. Add it all up, the design, the cabin, the tech, the space, and the honest holes in range and towing, and it lands at 7.5 on the WLTP score. That is a strong opening act for a nameplate nobody had even heard of a month ago. If the TZ has done its job, it has made you curious about the car it sits above. That car is the Lexus RZ, the smaller, cheaper electric SUV that started all of this. And it has just had a major update of its own. I have broken down exactly what changed and whether it is now the smarter buy, and that review is on screen right now. Go and see if the baby of the range is the one you actually want.